Hi there, boys and girls. I've got a couple of friends here with us for our fiction selection today.
Yes, Mrs. Neve, I have brought my very favorite Eric Carle book.
Oh, is it The Very Hungry Caterpillar?
No, it's about sea creatures.
Ooh, really?
It's true, Mrs. Neve. Eric Carle's written a lot of books about insects, but he's written about other animals too. Let me show you my favorite.
Okay.
It's called A House for Hermit Crab. And if you look at the back, there's a fish. There's all kinds of sea creatures in this book.
Yes, it's true. And in fact, we can also see on the back a picture of Eric Carle. Have you ever wondered what he looks like? He's the older gentleman there, and that is his son, whose name is Rolf, I believe. Yes. Let me read you what it says here. Eric Carle is the creator of many beloved books about animals, birds, and insects, but he says that he feels particularly fond of Hermit Crab, the hero of this book. He wrote and illustrated Hermit Crab's story to show young readers that new experiences are not to be dreaded, but are really wonderful opportunities. So that's interesting. Mr. Carle writes his books to help teach children. And in this one, A House for Hermit Crab, he wants to teach you not to be afraid of new things. Now, we've also mentioned that Mr. Carle has a very distinctive artistic style. You can usually tell if Eric Carle did the illustrations, right? And I wanted to show you a video. I'll give Mom and Dad an address where they can find a video about Eric Carle's style of art. It's Mr. Carle explaining how he did The Very Hungry Caterpillar. The Very Hungry Caterpillar? That's right. He'll talk about his artistic style. It's called collage art, where he takes pieces of paper, say he's painted a piece of paper to look like this, and he'll cut out shapes that he needs and glue them on to the page. So you can kind of tell from the picture here, he painted some paper red, and he cut out shapes to make the hermit crab's body. And then he painted some paper, these colors, and cut out the shell shape. And then he will also use crayons to make details, like the spiral there on the shell. So you'll want to watch that video later about how he does it, how Eric Carle does his collage style art. I think you'll find it fascinating. You might even want to try to do some on your own this summer. It looks like fun. Well, let's go ahead and read A House for Hermit Crab. Here's our title page, A House for Hermit Crab by Eric Carle. And this time, he not only did the pictures, he wrote the story. Okay. "Time to move," said Hermit Crab one day in January. "I've grown too big for this little shell." He had felt safe and snug in his shell, but now it was too snug. Hermit Crab stepped out of the shell and onto the floor of the ocean. But it was frightening in the open sea without a shell to hide in. "What if a big fish comes along and attacks me?" he thought. "I must find a new home soon." Early in February, Hermit Crab found just the house he was looking for. It was a big shell and strong. He moved right in, wiggling and waggling around inside to see how it felt. It felt just right. "But it looks so plain," thought Hermit Crab. Wonder what he has in mind. Let's see, that was February. I wonder when this next page takes place. In March, Hermit Crab met some sea anemones. They swayed gently back and forth in the water. "How beautiful you are," said Hermit Crab. "Would one of you be willing to come and live on my house? It is so plain, it needs you." "I'll come," whispered a small sea anemone. Gently, Hermit Crab picked it up with his claw and put it on his shell. These sea anemones are beautiful. Let's see, that was March. We've done January, February, March. In April, Hermit Crab passed a flock of starfish moving slowly along the seafloor.
"How handsome you are," said Hermit Crab. "Would one of you be willing to decorate my house?" "I would," signaled a little sea star.
Carefully, Hermit Crab picked it up with his claw and put it on his house. Wow, this is going to be beautiful. Let's see, that was April, right? In May, hey, we're in May right now, aren't we? This could be happening now. I know it's fiction. In May, Hermit Crab discovered some coral. They were hard and didn't move.
"How pretty you are," said Hermit Crab. "Would one of you be willing to make my house more beautiful?"
"I would," creaked a crusty coral. Gingerly, Hermit Crab picked it up with his claw and placed it on his shell. Wow, his shell is really starting to look fancier now, huh? Quite beautiful. Oh, that was May. In June. In June, Hermit Crab came to a group of snails crawling over a rock. They grazed as they went, picking up algae and bits of debris and leaving a neat path behind them.
"How tidy and hard-working you are," said Hermit Crab. "Would one of you be willing to come and help me clean my house?"
"I would," offered one of the snails. Happily, Hermit Crab picked it up with his claw and placed it on his shell. I would be happy, too, if someone was coming to clean my house. Wouldn't that be handy? Okay, that was June. In July, Hermit Crab came upon several sea urchins. They had sharp, prickly needles.
"How fierce you look," said Hermit Crab. "Would one of you be willing to protect my house?"
"I would," answered a spiky sea urchin. Gratefully, Hermit Crab picked it up with his claw and placed it near his shell. I'm glad Hermit was grateful. That means he was thankful. Yes, thankful to have somebody protecting his house. Well, let's see. That was July. What's next? In August. In August, Hermit Crab and his friends wandered into a forest of seaweed.
"It's so dark in here," thought Hermit Crab. "How dim it is," murmured the sea anemone. "How gloomy it is,"
whispered the starfish.
"How murky it is,"
complained the coral.
"I can't see,"
said the snail.
"It's like night time,"
cried the sea urchin. That is dark. What will they do? Now, remember, that was August. In September, Hermit Crab spotted a school of lanternfish darting through the dark water.
"How bright you are," said Hermit Crab. "Would one of you be willing to light up our house?"
"I would," replied one lanternfish, and it swam over near the shell. That's a good thing. You know, this kind of reminds me of the Y-verse. You are the light of the world. All right, that was September. In October, Hermit Crab approached a pile of smooth pebbles.
"How sturdy you are," said Hermit Crab. "Would you mind if I rearranged you?"
"Not at all," answered the pebbles. Hermit Crab picked them up one by one with his claw and built a wall around his shell.
"Now my house is perfect,"
cheered Hermit Crab. Wow, we're all the way to October. What will be next? But in November, Hermit Crab felt that his shell seemed a bit too small. Little by little over the year, Hermit Crab had grown. Soon he would have to find another, bigger home. But he had come to love his friends, the sea anemone, the starfish, the coral, the sea urchin, the snail, the lanternfish, and even the smooth pebbles. They did make a nice wall, didn't they?
They've been so good to me, thought Hermit Crab. They are like a family. How can I ever leave them?
There's the lanternfish keeping things lit. What do you think Hermit's going to do? Well, remember, that was November. In December, a smaller hermit crab passed by.
I've outgrown my shell, she said. Would you know of a place for me? I've outgrown my house too, answered Hermit Crab. I must move on. You are welcome to live here, but you must promise to be good to my friends. I promise, said the little crab.
Ah, that was December. The following January, okay, a new year has started. The following January, Hermit Crab stepped out and the little crab moved in.
Couldn't stay in that little shell forever,
said Hermit Crab as he waved goodbye. The ocean floor looked wider than he had remembered, but Hermit Crab wasn't afraid. Soon he spied the perfect house, a big empty shell. It looked, well, a little plain, but
sponges, he thought, barnacles, clownfish, sand dollars, electric eels. Oh, there are so many possibilities. I can't wait to get started.
Oh, yes. Our friend the hermit crab had learned, as Mr. Carle wanted us to, not to be afraid of new things. He learned from what happened before that everything was going to be okay. And you know, as Christians, of course, we know that God is there to help us. And he's going to help us with new things. Be strong and brave. Yeah, things can be very exciting when you're walking with the Lord. Wow, what a fun book. A House for Hermit Crab. Did you notice that it went through the months of the year? And a lot of Mr. Carle's books do. They follow a timeline. Sometimes, like in the Very Hungry Caterpillar, remember they started on Sunday and then went to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. They went through the days of the week. In some of the books, it starts early in the morning and ends late at night. I think that was the Very Busy Spider, yeah. So, in A House for Hermit Crab, he went through the whole year, didn't he? Did you know the months of the year as we were going through? You know what? Let's sing the months of the year song just to help you remember, okay? Now remember, there's 12 months in the year, so you'll have to have your counting fingers ready. You'll only have 10 fingers, right? So you'll have to add 2 more to get 12. Okay, let's get our counting fingers ready and sing the months of the year song. Here we go. January, February, March, and April, May, June, July, and August, September, October, November, December. These are the months of the year. How many? 12, 12, 12, 12 months. 12 months come in every year. 12, 12, 12, 12 months. 12 months come in every year. Oh, good singing. Aren't songs a great way to learn things?
I think so, Mrs. Neve.
Oh, thank you, Miss Fish. And thank you for bringing that book for us, A House for Hermit Crab.
I like it. And I like the lesson that Mr. Carle taught. And boys and girls, always remember, be strong and brave. God has a plan.
Indeed he does. Bye, boys and girls. See you later. We love you.
We do.